What's good everyone, this is the Crypto Captain back with a new YouTube video, and today we're going to be diving into Bitcoin's price action, new updates and what's going on in the market at the moment. So let's get right into it. So today has been a huge day. Bitcoin has broke into $118,000 with a new all-time high, predicting to go higher in the next coming weeks, as I predicted a few weeks ago. And till then, it's been chopping sideways and there hasn't been too much to discuss. But now that Bitcoin is in price discovery mode, things are picking up now, and it is crucial to have updates and keep an eye on the market when volatility is increasing and price discovery is at stake. Today is a very historical day for Bitcoin and its price action, making a new all-time high. And if Bitcoin closes above $110,000 on the daily, that is looking very likely now, we are going to probably see a continuation to the upside, with my target being from the Fibonacci extension that I mentioned a few weeks ago at 131k. And from there, we could possibly see a short pullback, or maybe we don't even see a pullback and Bitcoin goes parabolic and continues to break through this Fibonacci extension resistance and pushes into this territory from the Fibonacci extension, aiming towards $166,000. So as you can see from the daily candles, we've broken this resistance from 112k, and Bitcoin is raging up to the upside. However, on the daily, you can see that there's a slight momentum slowdown, but doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't continue up to this target of 130k. That is quite possible in the next coming days from this volatile move that Bitcoin tends to have during big major rallies, and then perhaps a pullback to this current price or 110k. However, in the grand scheme of things, in the long term, people are now anticipating that Bitcoin could get to higher price targets because of this major rally in such a short time period. But because of this fast movement in the short period of time and this major rally, people are anticipating that potentially this bull cycle could be an early ending bull cycle, with Bitcoin's volatility increasing in the short term, and potentially we see 165k sooner than we think. If the normal cycle is still at play, we could still see and anticipate for Q4, roughly October, November, December max, of being the cycle top for Bitcoin, and potentially people are anticipating max 200k this cycle. So we could see somewhere between 166 to 190k, somewhere in this region, as the most bullish scenario for Bitcoin cycle top. Now, why it's important for me to keep an eye on Bitcoin's movement and also Ethereum's movement is because this will indicate, once Bitcoin dominance breaks down and Bitcoin makes its all-time high peak, the money usually flows from Bitcoin and Ethereum to the altcoins. And that's where I think Casper can have huge significance and potential in increasing in major multipliers like 5, 6, 7x, or even more potentially, depending on how parabolic this altcoin season is, this cycle. And that's why it's important that when we find the Bitcoin top, that if we're trading in the meantime, our spot bags in certain altcoins like Ethereum, Ondo, Casper, XRP, or whatever you hold, the money should cycle into those. And that's where lower cap cryptocurrencies like altcoins are much lower in market cap compared to Bitcoin can truly see their parabolic runs. We saw that the weekly candles were green for about 7 weeks, 7 weekly green candles, and possibly for Bitcoin, when we see a rally, a major rally in continuous form, we could also see that potentially now. And right now there's a huge weekly candle and we're closing above the major resistance that we need to close above. So potentially we could actually see weekly candles in green for this parabolic run, even to 166k in the best case scenario for the short to medium time frame, before perhaps a pullback to 130k. And if that's not the top of the cycle, then we could even see a major blow off top to 200k in a very bullish scenario before the next bear market from 2026 onwards delivers. To prove and to indicate that potentially the Bitcoin top is here and now is looking at the CMC Crypto Fear and Greed Index chart. Now this has been a very good indicator to show when the market is most fearful and when the market is most greedy, and usually when there's extreme fear, such as during this period, during the tariffs, is a good time for investors to buy, and then they see profits from the Bitcoin rally from the 75k mark, which was at extreme fear. And when it's extremely greedy in the market, extreme greed, that's usually the time to take some profits off the table. And we will see usually the Bitcoin top and peak of this cycle when there's extreme greed and the price action is in extreme greed, and that may be an important indicator to keep an eye on for indicating when we are at the end of this bull cycle. Now right now we were recently at 40 in the neutral, and we've slowly came up to 60, and now just recently we're at 67 on the Greed and Fear index. So we've moved slowly into the green band. Now, the fact that we're not in extreme greed is an indicator right now that potentially and possibly we haven't seen the top of Bitcoin this cycle, and 130k, there is a good chance that it may not be the top of this cycle because we haven't seen price action go into this band here at the moment. But we need to keep a close eye on this, because potentially if Bitcoin goes to 140k, for example, and Greed and Fear index goes into extreme greed at 88 at all-time high, then potentially it may not be the top for Bitcoin for the cycle, and potentially Bitcoin still goes to 170, 180k for the end of the cycle. However, it may be the end of the major rally before Bitcoin pulls back, before continuing on a major rally, such as we saw during the tariff FUD. However, if you have a different strategy and you want to take profit at the very end of the crypto market and try to time the very end, then that's a different story. But if you want to try and trade the major rallies that Bitcoin's going to have in the next months, probably, then definitely keep an eye on the extreme greed and consider if you're going to take some profits off the table or let it ride out in anticipation for an even higher high. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you've enjoyed the content today and the information, and I will be making more updates in the coming days and weeks in updating you on what's happening in the market and my verdict on the current price action. I think there's very exciting times ahead for Bitcoin and the crypto market in general in regards of price action and making profits for investors and traders. If you've liked the content today, please remember to like and subscribe for regular content and updates, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.